Hey friends, Ed McDonough here, and welcome to Live Stream Wednesday, coming to you from Walpole, Massachusetts, and streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and on livestreamwednesday.com. And today I'm super excited to have on business strategy specialist and business coach, Tim Croll. Now, here's why. Tim teaches business leaders and entrepreneurs how to develop plans and business models to substantially increase their profits and scale their business to a 7 or 8 figure level. And the second reason I'm really excited that he's here is because he and his son, Zach, are also contestants on Lego Masters, which I think is the coolest thing of all. Tim, welcome so much to the show. Glad to have you here today.
Hey, man, it's so awesome to be here. We've been having so much fun, and I get to share some of these awesome experiences. So I'm super, super excited. So thank you.
Oh, awesome. So listen, I kind of want to just jump in here and talk a little bit about, I think I saw a tagline of yours where it says you help business owners become unstuck. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so here's what I have found, especially when it comes to business owners. Number one is you're smart. You've got a lot of talent. You're a hard worker. You're very capable. I mean, you've been hustling. And the majority of the business owners have a special skill. I liken this to hard skills versus soft skills. So whether it's a product or it's a service, you opened up your business and became very, very good at what it is that you're doing, but you kind of ran into this wall and you kind of got stuck because you've got so many great skills, hard skills, but you don't necessarily know the soft skills. In other words, the organizational development, the leadership management, how do you build a leadership team? And that's the stuck point that I see everybody in. So sometimes they come and they say, hey, I need more leads, or I need more sales, or I need more marketing. But the reality is they need to be able to have that foundation to be able to put that leader in place, because that's not their skill set. They need to find somebody to be able to do the marketing or find somebody to bring in the sales lead. So that's the stuck part that I get them through.
Yeah, awesome. And I totally get that. And, having been a business owner for, over 20 years, I completely see where that's going. So listen, you're on Lego Masters. I think that's just the most amazing thing ever. You're the closest thing I've ever personally known a celebrity to. So,
but we're still normal guys. We're still normal people. Right?
I know, and it's cool. You and your son Zach. Let me just put up that picture here. So you and your son Zach are on the show together. I think that's totally awesome. But what I want to really kind of bring around is I love how building with Lego bricks relates to business, right? Yeah. And I know you talk about that a lot. So
I do.
So take us through that a little bit.
Yeah. So let me actually kind of back up and say why I use this.
Yeah.
It's really because the why is really important, and people kind of look at you. Well, why do I want to listen to you? Why do you use it? Why, like that why is really, really important. It kind of gives that intrigue, right? Yep. So the reason why I have found a gap in I'll call it our education. On one hand, we've got theories and strategies and leadership talents and organizational. There's all of these strategies. And to be quite honest with you, after 6,000 years of documented human history, I'm not going to come up with something that's brand new in organizational development or leadership styles. I mean, we've got a lot of documentation, right? And a lot of really great leaders, John Maxwell, Jim Collins. I mean, I could go down the list. And so the reason why I use Lego and Lego bricks as an illustration is because I want to bridge that gap from the strategy, the theories, into practical application. And so I use the Lego bricks as a way to be able to say, okay, I've got them right here, right? So I use these all the time. It's like, okay, everybody identifies with Lego, or they've played with Lego, or they've done Lego at some point in time. And so I use these to be able to say, here's how we can take these theories and strategies and make them practical. And then it's like the light bulb goes on, like, oh, yeah, I get it. I understand now. Even though it's something you've known, it's just that connection that you can do between theories, strategies, and practical application.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. So you got the sphere in your hand, and you took me through an exercise. Tim and I are in a networking group together that meets every Friday, and he took us through this exercise of that. So I thought that was amazing. How you talk about the strength of it and all that. So can you share that with the listeners here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have a couple of them here, and I look at it from the perspective. I like the colors. I like the different pieces and that. And then I even have all of this And I always keep this together because these are all of the pieces that it takes to make a sphere. And what's so interesting is we take square flat tiles that are just thin and a couple of other blocks and a couple of other pieces here, and we use all of these things to be able to make it into a sphere, which is a circle. So you're taking square objects and then turn it into a sphere. This is called a Lowell sphere for those that want to look it up and whatever. But the interesting thing is when you have the pieces and the parts in the right area and the right components, I can actually start to squeeze this. And if you look, I'm going to put my hand right up against the thing. You see my knuckles kind of start to turn a little bit white. I'm putting so much pressure on the outside of the sphere that it's withholding, it's standing up, right? So I can undo it, and like I can even squeeze the different sides. I can come up and push it, and it has the ability to withstand under a lot of intense pressure, because normally it doesn't. Normally you've got a couple of bricks together and it doesn't actually stand up. This, because of the way it's put together. So there's a lot of lessons that we can learn about this. First of all, we have chaos in all of the pieces, and when we take the chaos and we put them in order, it gives us the ability to have something that is sustainable, something that can endure, something that's going to be long-term, and something that looks really cool. But we have to go from chaos to order. And that's our job as leaders, is to bring chaos. From chaos, we create the order. That's number one. Number two is if I ask you, go ahead and create one of these things, and I put all of these pieces down there, you look at me kind of strange, and you look at it and say, like, I can't do that. I don't know how the pieces go. And so I've often done this in illustrations where I've actually taken and I just dump out the pieces, and I challenge anybody. Anybody wants to come up and put this together. Here's the example. This is what it looks like. Take these pieces and put it together. Inevitably, so far to date, anybody that is here that I've used, nobody's been able to put it together without me giving some instructions, without me giving some framework. And I find that so real in our own personal lives and in our own business lives. If we don't have framework, how do we know what to do with all of the chaos to put it into order?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so how do you translate to that to a business person who's, let's say, so a lot of people watching today, I know, are sole entrepreneurs or have, kind of small companies, and, their company's going south, or they haven't recovered from the pandemic or whatever. Right. And so how do you bring a framework in that's going to help them? Or how do you show them what the framework is and convert that into some kind of actionable plan that they can put together?
Right. Well, and always, I mean, so you're asking a lot of in-depth questions that sometimes it takes a couple of hours to actually get through, which is okay, because everybody wants to know, where do I start? Like, how do I get started with something? Yep. So let me start with the basics. There's only 3 things that will ever break in a business. And everybody's like, no, what are you talking about? I got this messed up and this messed up. No, listen, let's just take a step back and actually look at the core foundations. There's only 3 things that ever break in business. It's capacity. And in capacity, it's the finite. So it might be finances, it might be time issue, it might be the building, it might be whatever it is. It's a capacity issue. You've got too many orders you can't fulfill. You've got too many leads you can't run. You've got too many. You just have a capacity thing. That's the first thing that can break. Second thing that can break in any business or in a business is relationships. There's a breakdown between the leadership or the CEO or the management and the employees. There's a breakdown between the employees that are delivering the goods to the consumers or the customers. There may be a breakdown between the relationship and the manufacturer or the supplier, or maybe it's a partner, or maybe it's an investor. Those are all relationships. So you can actually have a breakdown in a relationship. And the third thing is your processes. Now, the processes go across many different things. So it could be a breakdown in the process. And I know you're a big sales guy and leads guy, so I get that. If you don't have a process to bring the lead in, convert them into a sale, and then follow up for customer retention, if you don't have that process in place, there's no way that you're going to be able to make that sale. So there's a breakdown there. And then you have your marketing processes, and then you've got your production processes, and then you've got communication all of these processes, your standard SOPs, that is where the third breakdown is. So capacity, relationships, and processes. Those are the only 3 things that will ever break in a business. And I can keep going. I don't know if you want to keep digging into this even further, but it's definitely, that's the start. That's where we start to look. Awesome.
So let me get back here, Tim. Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
So we got some comments coming in. So let me ask you this. So you talk a lot about framework. And I know there's kind of like framework for business, but what about framework in the personal area too? Because I know that's something you talk about a lot too, kind of that, I like to call it life balance type of thing.
Well, and life balance is one of those, in my opinion, it's kind of like my little hot spot. It's one of those things that the world tells us that we can live our lives in balance, and that's physically impossible. So maybe we'll touch back on that, but then we'll circle back. I can say this one thing here, and I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt with all of the individuals that I'm working with. The comment that everybody goes to, and I call this one of the false narratives of the business world. We often hear people say, it's nothing personal, it's just business. And to me, that's a false narrative. That is, it's a lie that has been done throughout all of society and all of our business world, because no matter what, at the end of the day, business is personal. Things that happen in our business life are going to affect our personal life. Things that happen in our personal life are going to affect our business lives. And I've watched this transpire between entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, business owners. I've seen it happen inside of leadership teams where possibly one of the leadership team individuals is going through a divorce. It has a direct impact on how they lead people, how they manage situations, how they manage their time, the stress that comes into it. All of these things are interlocked. And so when you're talking about how do we actually apply this to our business life, to me, there's four foundations. There's a lot of different frameworks that I have. So let me just give you this framework because it's the first phase or the first building block. I've got my little stickers here. The first building block of growing your leadership, and that's you need to learn how to lead yourself. And inside leading yourself, there's four core elements or the four pillars. It's I have to learn how to lead and control physically. In other words, am I taking care of myself physically? Am I doing what it needs to happen as far as mentally? Am I growing mentally? Am I growing socially? Am I growing my network and my relationships? And am I growing spiritually? And the core element of the spiritual aspect is, and this is going to be different for different people because they relate differently, but are you taking care of that internal soul aspect that you have and taking time to reflect and look at it and slow down and unplug from that adrenaline kick that's always going on.
Right.
So when you're looking at building your own personal life, the reason why it's so important and in understanding how that starts to be able to affect and impact your business life and then also your influence with everybody else that you're coming in contact with, it all starts with your personal growth. And those are the four areas of personal growth: physical, social, mental, and spiritual. I always get them mixed up in order, so I don't have like a specific order. But those are the four ones.
Right. Awesome. And so one of the things that I've heard you talk about is making sense out of the chaos that's going on. So I don't think you know this about me, but I actually I practice this Chinese exercise called Qigong, and I'm also a Qigong instructor. And it's an exercise. It's not a martial art. Some of the martial arts are based on it. But one of the things I learned from one of my Qigong instructors, he was a master Qigong instructor, was that you have to kind of make sense of the chaos. And so when you're practicing Qigong, it's not doing the same routine every day. It's listening to what your body needs and then doing the exercises that are going to help bring you the most benefit that day in that moment. So kind of making sense of the chaos and listening to what's going on. And I know you follow that same kind of theory in business and personal life too. So talk to us a little bit about that. Because I love what you're
asking about that too, because it's one of the core foundations. In every human, I personally believe that we were created or made to be able to create things. If you follow scripture and you go back into the Bible, the God of the Bible, he introduced himself as, in the beginning, God created. And then it goes on to talk about how we were created in God's image to be able to create things, right? So here's the thing, and this is what I find, and this is the society's false narrative, is that our identity is tied up in what we do or the results of what we do. But truly, our identity and our value is tied up in the process and then the creation, right? So we're all creators. And you could be an artist, you could be a musician, you could be an entrepreneur, a business owner. So let me tie this back into Lego. We use Lego bricks to be able to create some awesome things. So the first stage of creation in Lego is you buy a set off the shelf. I've got several on my desk here. This is the Phoenix, which I just put together recently. But it's a beautiful bird. It's got some technique pieces in here, and actually the wings move, and it's a lot of fun. But this is built off of a set. So we follow a very specific set of instructions, and we create something there. That's the first step. And then you start buying in Lego world, we start buying brick in bulk. And then we just put together these things, and we come up with spheres, and we create all these cool things that you see on the Lego show. Yeah. It's literally coming out of our minds. And so there's this aspect of a human that we love to be able to create. Now, the cool thing is, and this goes back to the chaos part of it, the chaos is the palette off of which we create. So whether that applies to a business world, because if you look at a business world, you're typically, if you're a good business person, you're solving a need, or you're bringing that order to chaos, because the chaos is, there's a need there. You know, there's something that's going on. So we're bringing order to that. If we're looking at it from an artist platform, the palette, by the time they get done creating the masterpiece, it is a mess. I mean, you've got colors everywhere, you got mixes and shading and this and that. Like, it is chaos when they're holding that. And same thing with anything I can apply this to, whether it's, again, you're an artist, musician, any of these things, we are constantly bringing order to chaos, and that's how we create. Yeah. And there's something in our souls that calls us out and says, I need to be able to create. And when we start doing that, we can start identifying what our superpowers are. We can start identifying with that process. And then if something fails, if something doesn't quite work, I don't have to be identified with that failure, because I'm identifying with the process. My identity comes from bringing order to that chaos, that process of doing that, not the end result. Because the end result, there's sometimes we can't control that, right? A business doesn't work, a wall doesn't fall down, so something doesn't happen, right? Yeah. And it's not my identity, right? So I'm not going to tie up everything and identify as a failure because something didn't work. It's because I'm using this chaos and I'm bringing order to it. Next time I know how to be able to build it better, or I know how to create that better. There's this process, and that's where our identity should really be tied up.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's amazing how many people get that wrong, you know, or they're confused about it, right? They don't get it wrong, but they're confused about it because they're looking at it totally the other way. My identity is all the stuff I have, not who I am and what I stand for and what I believe in.
And that's one of the false narratives the world has taught us. What do you do when you go to a networking event? You often go and say, what do you do? Yeah, I hate that statement at networking events, because it's just like all my identity is tied up what I do. I would rather hear, how did you get there? What's the journey? I want to hear the story behind what it is that you do. And then now, so this is a little trick. This is a little hot mic moment tip kind of a thing coming out here. So when you ask that question and you hear about their journey, that is when you actually start to hear about the need. What is going on in their life? What's going on in their business? If I just say, what do you do? That's a one-sided conversation. I'm a businessman. I'm a salesman. I'm a this or whatever. And there's not really any kind of a story process. And so I can't hear what the need is. So when I ask about the journey and the process of how they get there, I can start to pick out some of the needs, which then gives me the ability to say, hey, I have a solution for that. So as a salesperson, and Ed, I know you're in the same, whether it's sales or marketing, if I'm approaching from the journey aspect and hearing about the story, now I can say, hey, I have a solution for that need. I have a solution for that challenge, for that problem, whatever it is. I have that solution. And then you can start sharing in a story manner rather than being salesy, like, you need my stuff.
Right.
No, that doesn't work.
Exactly. So Tim, that made me think of something. So how do you help businesses, like, I'm going to put in your terminology, find their North Star, right? So, some businesses really don't do that. They don't know that. They've said, hey, I'm really good at this thing and I want to go and do it, but they really don't have that, that compass to follow or that North Star to follow. How do you help them with that?
Yeah, so the big thing in this is, everybody kind of says, well, why do you need a North Star? Why do I need a purpose? Why do I need a mission or a vision? Or why do I need this stuff? It seems like it's all foo-foo kind of head knowledge that it doesn't have any practical experience. I'm going to tell you right here, right now, without that North Star, it is very difficult to be clear on your direction. It's very difficult to make decisions. It's very difficult to understand what product you're using, who your avatar is supposed to be, what is the need that you're filling. Without that North Star, you don't have the ability to do all of those things. So when we start talking with a company, a lot of times, like I said, the need that somebody raises is I need to have more sales. I need to have more marketing. I need to have like all of these things that they think that they need, but they get stuck in the minutia of just chasing the next popular marketing strategy, right? They start chasing all these things. Like they see something on social media, they see something somebody else did, and they just chase and chase and chase, but they don't take the time to stop and say, does this fit my model?
Yeah.
Does this fit my purpose? And then they just keep going back and forth. So I liken it like this. And I love the ship illustration. In fact, hang on one second.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my ship in a bottle. It sits right on my desk. So,
yep.
And I've got a compass and everything, like all these things here. I'm going to show you my compass. So here's my compass. So this is all things that I use all the time, just to keep this at forefront of my mind. So when we look at the ship illustration, as we're doing these things, we have to have that North Star. When people were on the ships, before GPS, before all this other stuff, they used that North Star as a direction finder. It's not something that we actually attain. We're never actually going to reach the North Star unless you're Peter Pan and you can fly. But you're not going to actually reach the North Star. But what it does is it allows for a very clear direction. So then when you are, let's say you're an e-com business, right? And all of a sudden you have this siren, the song of the siren calling and saying, you need to open up a brick and mortar store. It's like, oh, there's an opportunity. With the North Star, you can decide, is that song an opportunity? Something that you can actually go after? Or is it the song of the siren that's calling you to the rocks of devastation and it's going to completely destroy the ship? But without that North Star, you don't know the answer to that question.
Right.
And this happens so often in businesses where they get, like I said, distracted in marketing, or they get distracted with opportunities that are, it's like, oh, this could be a really good chance. We can make, it's a shortcut. It's this. No. That North Star, having your purpose and knowing why you are in business, will allow you to make those decisions, assess opportunities. When you start getting into the SWOT analysis type things, it allows it to be very, very clear and say, this is good, this is bad, this is weakness, this is strength, this is opportunity, this is threats. And having that North Star gives us that chance to be able to say, yep, I can very clearly see the direction that we need to. In addition to that, it's now easy to be able to say, hey, employees, hey, leadership team, this is where we're headed.
Right.
This is the North Star. We're leaving the European market and we're going to the United States, a brand new market. We're going to go there. This is the North Star. This is how we're going to go down to the Caribbean. We're going to go, whatever that purpose is, you can actually see how in a business, if you don't have that clear North Star, it makes your story confusing. It makes your message confusing, which then translates into consumer confusion, which then translates into lack of sales, which then translates into lack of revenue. And it all is a domino effect if we don't have a clear North Star.
Yeah, and that is so true. You know, I've been in the marketing field since 2009, worked with thousands of businesses, and it's amazing how many people don't have that. And it's just like, you know, what's the next shiny object thing I can go after? You know, so it's just like you're not being true to yourself, first of all, and you're really not being true to your clientele and your client base either, because of the fact that you're just scattered everywhere and you're not delivering a really good service for a really good price, you know, to that market. So I totally understand what you're saying.
You know, it's interesting too, and I love old books. And like I said, we've got 6,000 years, so I listened to Odysseus and read the book there. But his purpose was to get back home, right? So he knew he was going to lose all of his men on the crew. He knew he was going to have his ship crushed, and he knew but yet he had one intensive purpose: I want to get back home.
Right.
I know I got to go through these trials. I know I got to lose my ship. I know that most of my men. There was one time where he went between this cliffs of insanity kind of a thing and a black hole kind of a thing, and he had to drive right through the middle of it. If he stayed too far left, he was going to lose the entire ship. If he stayed too far right, some monster was going to come out and eat a couple of men. It's like, well, I'm going to lose a couple of men. But he was clear. I have to go through this. I know it's going to be hard, but I've got to get through this because I have a very clear purpose and I have a very clear direction. And I know that's a fictional story, but it's so applicable.
Right.
How often in business do we actually look at that and we say, well, I don't have any clear direction. That looks like it's dangerous, so I'm not going to go down there. It's going to cost me money. It's going to cost me time, so I'm not going to go down there. But when we have that clear purpose, it's like, no, I know it's going to cost me time. It's going to cost me money. This is going to be super hard. It's not easy to take a couple steps back and say, you know what, that's not the direction we need to go, or to close down an operation, or it's not easy to do that. That's hard. But if you have a clear purpose, you can go through those hard things and you can endure them in a better way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we got to switch over and just talk Lego for a few minutes here.
Let's go.
So it's awesome to see you and Zach on Lego Masters, but and I don't know how much of this you can talk about, but tell us about the journey. Like, a lot of people think like, hey, I knew Tim on 2 weeks ago, I knew him on Monday, and then on Tuesday night I saw him on television on Lego Masters. Wow, what a lucky guy he is to be on that show. But I know that there had to be a lot of Lego building and trials or to get to that point. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so funny when people say, hey, you're so lucky.
Yeah.
I have no idea the amount of work and the blood, and the sweat, and the tears. And it's the same thing in business too. I mean, like, it all coincides, right?
Yeah.
So let me start with this, because yes, there's a lot of work that goes into practicing, learning how to build, getting different techniques and speeds and creative and all of these kind of things. There's a lot of work in the actual physical pieces of that, but it starts before that in the fact that I made a decision to craft my own story.
Right.
I don't know how to explain it other than the fact that there's a lot of parents out there and there's a lot of people out there that are going through the motions, working at 9 to 5, and not crafting their own story. They're just adopting whatever the world, and they're just accepting that narrative on whatever they're being told. They're not purposeful in crafting their own narrative. They're not purposeful in crafting what they need to do, right? So Melissa and I, my wife and I, we made several decisions back 20 years ago that we were going to be involved in our kids' lives, that we were going to do specific things that were against the culture norm. Homeschooling is one of them. We decided to homeschool because we wanted to be involved in our kids' lives. Was it easy? Heck no. It's probably the hardest thing in the world to do. Is it rewarding? Yes, it's definitely rewarding. We've got great relationships with our kids. But the only way I was able to do that is by investing time into them, paying attention to what their values are, paying attention to where their hobbies are at. So my first child, Micah, wants nothing to do with Lego. Nothing at all. He's a fisherman, loves the outdoors, wants to go hiking. So I spent time with him doing that. Second son, Zach, comes along. He says, I'm really excited about Lego. Let's go. So I used Lego as a way to be able to connect with him, which then led to opportunity, which is where we ended up on Lego Master, because it was just a purposeful creating our own narrative. How are we going to spend time with our kids? And then, knock, 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 here comes opportunity. After we've built and crafted and done all of these things, here's an opportunity. Yep. So all of the work meeting opportunity, I guess, is what luck is. I mean, it just happened to be that way. And I had the time. I had the ability to be able to be what they call in the movie industry sequestered. In other words, I had to be somewhere for a certain amount of time, cut off of certain things. That's sequestering. So I had the ability to be able to do that. And so I was able to step back, have that opportunity, because I had been so purposeful in creating a narrative to be able to do that. Now, I wasn't always like that, so just so we're clear, I've made a lot of mistakes.
Hey, everybody does. So I have to play the promo because it's a great opportunity to see you and Zach interact with each other. So I'm going to just pop that in right now. So hang on.
Okay, guys, so we're doing a check-in here on the reality program known as Lego Masters.
I'm Zach. My name is Tim. We are from Northern Michigan. We don't take ourselves super serious.
Yeah, this is my dad. I'm just toting him along for the ride because I'm the professional Lego builder over here.
Zach is a much better builder than I am. The reason why I'm here is because I get to connect and spend this time with my kid. This is our connector.
This is our thing, yep.
Get that? Lego is our connector.
Oh.
Let's be real. We have to get through this stuff very, very quickly. Otherwise, it's going to get cut. And everybody's going to say, what happened to Tim and Zach? It took too long to explain it. So explain it really quickly.
Pop, pop, and it's going to have a big boom down.
Done. Yep,
There you go.
That's a classic pop, boom, boom.
That is so cool. And
Every time it makes me smile too. It's like
I know that guy. No.
That's the media. That's the media.
I love the Lego is our connector. So exactly what you're talking about. That's why I had to play that. So awesome. Well, congratulations to you. So, Tim, it's just been I could talk to you for like another 2 hours here. Tell me, I got your website up here. what's the best way? Is that the best way for people to get in touch with you?
I would say that's the best way for people to learn about me. Now, there's a couple of really cool things on the website. I've got a free ebook that talks about the 4 steps of recovering your business or growing your business. So that is on there. It signs up for a newsletter I send out 2 times a month. That's there. But that's just kind of more of a way to get to know kind of the branding, that part of the Tim. Probably there's 2 ways. Maybe the social media would probably be the best way as far as connecting. LinkedIn, I use that all the time. And then if you wanted to schedule some time with me, you can borrow my brain because sometimes that's just what you need. Like I said at the beginning, you're capable, you're a hard worker, you know a lot about the hustle, but you kind of get stuck in that one position. So you can borrow my brain with that Calendly link. I find it very useful just to kind of introduce and kind of understand what's going on and maybe fix a couple of things that are there. So that's probably the better way to connect is actually the Calendly link or through social.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Tim. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know this is your 4th interview today or something.
No, today is actually my 3rd one.
Oh, okay, your 3rd.
Yesterday I had 6 of them, and they were all. But that's okay. It's all good.
It's all good. All right, hang out for a second. I'm just going to say goodbye to the folks. So thanks a lot. Hang out. So everybody, thank you so much for watching today. It's really been a pleasure to have you here, and of course. Please get in touch with Tim, timcroll.com. If you have any questions for him whatsoever, obviously you can see he knows his stuff and he can point you in the right direction of your North Star. So do that. So until next time, we'll see you here on Live Stream Wednesday. Take care.
Thanks for watching Live Stream Wednesday. This show is sponsored by ECE Marketing Services. If you would like to acquire more leads and generate more sales from your website, month after month, check out our automated business systems at ecemarketingservices.com.